Hey everyone, I'm so excited about today's project. I really hope you like it. I was out of little brown paper bags and was trying to find a way to make some of those for some journals I'm working on, and all of this happened. Two pockets, tags, and a shaker card. This is a shaker card, but I put some of the gold fleck in there so it doesn't move that much because it sticks to the cellophane. This is a shaker card. It's actually a tag. And this one could be used either for, a writing spot or a pocket. And then I made little envelopes. Some of them I put, well, all of them, I think. I put some kind of something on the flap. This is a little rub-on. And then I actually have a stamp that will stamp the lines, but I used corrugated cardboard on these and just did random stamping. And again, it's an envelope. This one I just put a little bit of book page on, sewed on one of my little muslin printed words, did more of the stamping with the corrugated cardboard. And I didn't do anything on the back of this one. Again, I wasn't sure if I was going to glue it to a page like a pocket. I could have glue three sides and then put something behind it in the pocket here, or if I was going to do floating ephemera. I don't know. I'm leaving that open. But so I made two pockets and tickets. I love these tickets. You've seen me do these before, but I just love them. I think they're the coolest thing. And the shaker tab. And I made these things, all of these things, from brown paper bag like this. This was the kind I used, and that's the size of it, 5 1/8 by 3 1/8 by 10 5/8. Got these at Walmart's a long time ago, and you see how many I still have left, and I use them all the time. And this project, you can make 2 rows of labels, 2 envelopes, and a shaker tag or pocket, and still have some little bit leftover pieces to make more tickets if you want, or other things. I'm going to show you now how I did this. I hope you'll stay with me because I love it so much and it's really easy. So the first thing I did was to cut off this pocket, and this is just how they come, and you can see there's a line right across where that bends. I'm just going to cut this bottom piece off right across that line and save this piece. We'll make our envelopes and our tags out of that, our tickets out of that. This piece, we'll do this first. And then I just open it up. And a lot of times, this one seems to be pretty good, but a lot of times these bottoms are glued kind of wonky, and none of that will matter. And I'll show you. So we're going to cut each of the side flaps off. Just like this. And none of this has to be precise. This one's a little bit thick right there, so I'm just going to cut right across it. Just cut that off. And I like to save these pieces to make more tickets out of. Or I did make some hidden paper clips, like tickets, from these pieces. This is a piece of tea-dyed cardboard, but just to show you the hidden paper clip tickets. So I made these smaller ones out of this piece. Just one option you can do with these end pieces, but I wouldn't throw them away. You can also use them as tabs on a page. You could back them to something sturdier and use them as writing spots. See how that's kind of wonky right there? I'm just going to cut right across it. And now you're left with this. And this is small enough to run through the die cut, which is what I done. I used a die cut that looks like this, and I just placed it here, best I could center it, and ran it through, making sure not to cut these two flaps. If you don't have a die cut, you can certainly, if you have a punch of any kind, or you can draw yourself a square and cut it out, however, whatever shape you want. I already have one that is cut out here. And I don't glue things down. You know how the bottoms of your bags, they're not all sealed like they should be. I don't do that till after I die cut it. And then I just go and kind of double check that all of the seams are glued down. And this part doesn't matter as far as your shaker. None of it's going to fall out the way we're going to do the inside. I just think it looks nicer if this is flat and there aren't flaps sticking up. Of course, you could also cover the outside of this with scrapbook paper. I usually stamp mine. I've always been where I like to I like to be able to know what it's made from. I just think that that's, as far as upcycling, it's just fun to know, hey, that was made from a brown paper bag, or, you know, a recycled cardboard, or, you know, whatever. So that's the only reason I didn't cover mine. But if you wanted to cover it with scrapboard, before you run it through the die cut, I would just lay it on here, lay your die cut on top of the scrapbook paper and this, and then it cuts out exactly like it should. And I'm going to glue these pieces down too on the inside. I guess you could cut it off. I like to leave it so, you know, it has some stability. I mean, these paper bags are not the thickest, so I like to keep as much of it intact as I can. Even, I mean, no matter if you're going to use it for a pocket or a writing spot, I just like the extra stability. So the first thing I do is I'm going to ink around the outside, just outside my window like that. The rest of it we can do after it's put together. And then, because we're going to fold these in like this, one of these is going to show behind your window. And what I like to do is I like to just take my script writing and just randomly stamp one of the sides. It doesn't have to be completely covered. You know, I'm just stamping. And this doesn't have to be the right way. You can do it all different directions. It doesn't have to be right, because you don't see it a lot, but I like to just give it a little bit of background art. And what I used was recycled cellophane bags packaging. Here's one. And I like to use where at least, you know, one edge is already closed. You don't have to do that. I just did. I don't know why. And I don't use where it seals over. You can. I mean, you can glue all four sides. It doesn't matter. I was just trying to make it easier for myself. So I just cut it slightly larger than my cutout in my bag. And it doesn't matter that this is here, because it's not going to show. Look at me trying to peel it off anyway. Because it's not going to show, so that doesn't matter. So now we're going to put, I like to use Fabri-Tac because it seems to hold cellophane and acetate a lot better than anything else. But I might just go ahead and fill my bag first. So I'm just going to put glue. Probably kind of hard to see. I'll lay it on this bag, but like that helps. But I'm going to put glue on both sides to leave one side open. Not a lot, just a little bit. So that the top is still open. Then I'm going to take whatever I want to put, you know, as far as my shaker. This one I used little leaves and crosses. When I was doing this project, I'm probably, you know, gonna make someone mad, but anyway, I pray a lot about my projects because I do not have a creative mind. So I pray, God, tell me, what do I make next? This is what I want. How do I go about it? And yes, I watch a lot of tutorials too, but a lot of times things that I'm getting ready to make just don't come to me. I don't know how to do it. So I pray about it. And this was one of those projects. And I was so happy when how all this came together. So I'm just going to take some of these. And I don't think these are even like for a shaker card. I think these are actually meant for your nails. But I thought they were pretty. So I'm going to use them. Not like I would ever take time to put these on my nails. I'd have them everywhere, my forehead, and stuck where I would never get them off. Okay, so I'm going to put some of those. And maybe some green ones. Oh, those little things get away from you, don't they? If you had sequins, this would be great. And I do have sequins somewhere that I cannot locate. So we're going to stick with these leaves and little circles. And if I can find my crosses, those were really pretty. I have no idea what I did with those after I put them in this bag. Took them all over the table too. Luckily, they're very staticky, so they kind of stick to you. Now we're going to take our bag again, and I want to make sure that I have not glued so far out that they're going to fall to one side and you won't see them. And I think that I have. So I'm going to move this over just a little bit because I want this pretty close to the same size, just like I said earlier, a little bit bigger than your window. So, well, look at that. I dumped them all out. This is how I roll. This is why I don't normally make shaker cards, but I sure do think they're pretty. Woohoo, we got that back in there. So now I'm going to try to get it down to one side. And I'm kind of trying to see how much I need to cut off. I'm going to go ahead and glue the top. And then, so I only have one side open at a time. But I'm going to glue the bottom and the top. Probably cut just a tiny bit off the top before I glue it. Again, with the Fabri-Tac, trying not to dump them out all over the desk again. And what you could do before you glued up the sides is you could glue some at the bottom and wait for it to dry. That way whatever you're putting in here won't stick to it and it won't fall down past your window. I hope that made some sense. So again, I don't want it that much bigger than my window so they don't all fall off to the side. So I'm going to cut this one smaller after I get these jarred down. Cut off, but I got to leave room to glue too. So I'm going to cut off this much and see where we're at. I'm sure that I'm probably doing this the hard way. I don't know if I've watched tutorials on how to make shaker cards. Obviously, I should have. I don't normally make these. I know I've made them before, and I don't know if this is how I done it or not, but it's what we're going to do this time. All right, now I'm going to glue it down to our bag. Just our little shaker pouch here. And you could, if you wanted to, you could even sew these little bags. That would look nice. Okay, so now it's stuck. And there's our shaker pouch. And it will move, I promise. One thing you can do so that your little things that you have inside have more room to move around is you can put something in between the cellophane, like foam tape, but that tends to be uneven because it's thicker. You'd have to even out your sides for your writing space. But you could also, when you're cutting this, cut a couple pieces of cardstock and that layer it between the cellophane. That'll give it room to move too. You don't need a whole lot of room in there. I don't think, just enough to give it some room to breathe. But these will move around good enough for what I'm wanting to do. So now I'm going to glue this piece down to our inside. Putting a little bit on the cellophane to make sure it sticks to that well. Putting the side that I stamped on first, and then I'm going to glue the other side. And again, you could leave it just like this. It's real thin and it will work, but I like to give a little bit more stability. You could also, instead of using the back of this envelope, you could put a writing spot back here or use cardstock to thicken it up some more. And there's our cute little pocket. Or, and it is moving. I don't know if you can see it, but they're moving. Our cute little shaker pocket or tag, whichever you want it to be. So I'm just going to even this up a little bit, because like I say, the bottoms of the bags are not always completely straight. And just like that, we have a nice writing spot or tag or pocket. So many things you could do with this. And I like to keep it simple. I just stamped on the other ones, on these pieces. Well, that's not the same thing. I just stamped around on these, and I did a little bit of word on the back of this one. Really, really light, so that, you know, if you want to write or whatever. But I think I'm going to do the same thing on this one. I'm just going to stamp around it, keep it simple. And I noticed that one of these corners I didn't get glued down, so I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. It wouldn't affect our insides, but I just think it looks nicer if they're flat. I only have a couple different stamps here. Like I said, I was just trying to keep it easy. And I'm not even doing them the same way. I'm just random stamping. Just like that. I think that looks so cute. And our stuff is moving. I don't know if you can see it, but because it's hard to get the cellophane where it doesn't shine in the light. I think that's really pretty. So we got one piece done. Now this is the piece we have left. And how I like to do that is I just open it up. Kind of wants to lay over to one side, so we'll let it. And I am going to tear this down the middle. Just take my ruler and tear it. It doesn't have to be exact because it's just going to be your pockets and your tickets. And then we're going to take this one side, and I'm choosing this side because this side has the cutout. I saved this for my tickets. I accidentally, when I was making them before, chose this for my envelope, and it gets kind of wonky. So you want to choose the side that doesn't have that piece, and then tear it into 2 pieces. Now, the seam runs down the back, and I don't necessarily like that seam. So you can either cut it or just tear it. And I will save that for tickets. Or could put it on the inside, fold it to the inside for strength. So there's our envelope, just like that. How easy is that? Isn't that cute? So here's our other one, again with the seam. I think this time I'll just fold it in, see what that looks like. Crease it with my bone folder because we're right on that seam where the bag gets glued together, and fold it up. That just gives you a sturdier front. I think I like that best. That's probably how I would do it. Now for decoration, I glued some lace, and I also did my inking at this time. Another thing you can do with this piece that I tore off of this one is you could use it as a pocket on the back, just like this. Glue it to the back, and let's do that. I'm going to keep this edge just to give the opening of the pocket some strength. Glue that down to the inside, and then glue this to my bag. I'm going to ink around it first. You could do a thumb hole here. I'm not going to, but you sure could do that easily so that they know there's a pocket on the back. Do my 3 sides. And glue it to the back for another pocket. And I have come off the bottom of mine a little bit, and I like that because it looks rough. It gives that rough edge, and then I'm just going to ink around it. Before I glue down this piece, I'm going to ink it as well. Other bag, we're going to do the same thing. So now we have 2 really nice little envelopes. This one has 2 pockets. This one just has the one, so I'm going to glue up the sides now. Just like that. Now you have these 2 really cute little envelopes. You could stamp these, you could ink them, distress ink them like we're going to do with our tickets. So many things you can do with these. I think I'm just going to take some tea-dyed, I have some tea-dyed doily here. That'd be about right for that one. And I did just a rugged piece. I didn't try to make it straight, and I like how that hangs down, so we're going to flip it off our finger and then glue it down. Okay, I'm going to let that one dry. And I think on this one, I'm going to muslin words. Faith. I was just talking about having faith to do my crafts. So I'm going to use this one. So I think I'm going to do a little bit of sewing on this one around it. And I'm going to go ahead and sew my bags together. And I'll be right back. Okay, so on this one, I decided to put a little sticker here and a little button that I had put in a bag with alcohol ink and made it look aged and just glued that on there. That's what I've done for this one. Did some sewing around it. And this one, I did some sewing on the muslin printed word, and then I did sew all the way around the pocket on the back. And I did a little rub on here. Isn't that pretty? Little winding road and autumn leaves or autumn trees. So I thought what I would do with the rest of it is I would show you how I did the stamping with this corrugated cardboard. Sure, it doesn't need to be shown, but you know, somebody might not know or have seen it. I'm sure that you have, but I like to do it just where it's light. Just kind of has a hint of the lines like that. And they don't have to be perfect. I hope I was in screen. And I'm going to put a little bit next to Faith. I like doing it with this versus a stamp because I can see better how close I'm getting to whatever picture is there. And then I think I might put some on the back too. And I like the little flat pieces on the corrugated. That leaves like broken areas. And I think that looks fun. I don't know, you may think it doesn't look fun. It just looks like you didn't do a good job of stamping. But there you go. There's our 2 pockets. Now let's do the piece that we tore off. We'll make our tickets out of that. And to make them more manageable, I tore this in 2 as well. And I say manageable, they don't have to be so thick. So I just tore that right in 2. And then I just folded it into thirds. And the piece that's cut out, you can fold it towards the middle if you want. I wouldn't give too much thought to that piece. It's not going to matter. We can, if nothing else, look, we'll take some scissors and snip that right off. Just like that. So now we have, I may do that to the other end too. Look like torn tag. These are just like deckled edge scissors. That one's already from the actual, the way the bag is at the top, that one's already that way. So now I just take my glue stick. Like I said, I have a tutorial on, I've done this before, and I know probably lots of people have done it, so this isn't, put some in the middle and then some on that edge. Getting it all over my mat, ain't I? And just make sure and burnish it down real good. And it's thick enough for a tag. Or I'm sorry, a ticket. I keep calling them tags. Do the same on this one. Fold it to the middle. Fold it over again. Just like so. And I would wait for it to dry a little bit before I did the next step. I have some, here's one that I've already done that's dry. So I'll just show you how I did my smushing. Not like, again, anybody probably doesn't need to see, but I'm gonna show you anyway. It's probably would drive some people crazy, but I use my stamp pads for so many things, and one of them being to do my smushing on. And because I'm doing fall, autumn journals right now, the colors I chose were lumberjack plaid, fossilized amber, spiced marmalade, and gather twigs. And you don't have to use all those, but this is how I did it. I just sprayed it onto my stamp pad and smushed it like that, front and back. And you could do this before you fold it if you want. I didn't, because there was no need really to have ink on the inside. So I just done it like this. Then I also would wet it a little bit with just water to get up the extra. Plus, as I've said before, and I'm sure you already know, Distress Oxides have that powdered finish look, and I think the water helps wash some of that off, or where it's not so powdery looking. And I just kept doing that with all the other colors. This will be really, really pretty when it dries. So I'm going to leave it to dry. And I have some here that are already dried. Isn't TB wonderful? So I have a lot of ticket stamps, because tickets are one of my favorite things to make, and tags, and I just love that kind of thing. So I'm going to stamp mine. And you don't even have to have ticket stamps. You can use just numbers. I've done that before, just random numbers on the tickets. So what I do first is just fold it. And whatever size you want your ticket to be, it doesn't matter. Mine are all different sizes. This one I folded at almost 2 inches. So I just fold it accordion style, then flip it over, fold it back. And then you're going to end up with a short piece, which is always my favorite because I love, I don't know why, it always ends up being my favorite, that little last stub, like it's been torn off. So I'm going to cut this on both ends. Oh, that one's okay. And then I fold them back the other way just to give them a really good bend. Something that you could do if you like the look of the holes is you could use one of those roller things, like I don't know what it's called. I don't sew actual clothes, but it's something that they use in sewing, and it has little teeth, and you can roll it across there and it'll make little holes. You can also run this seam through your sewing machine with no thread, and it'll put little holes. I've done that before and it looks really good. I've done this next step a lot of different ways. Today, I've kind of been messing with it, and the way that I think I like it best, if you don't have a hole punch, you can even just cut it. If I could find my scissors, the right scissors. You could just cut out like a little small half moon shape when it's folded over like this. So when it's opened up, you got your little divot there. And that's how I'll go ahead and do these. Well, I'll do them both ways so you can see the difference. And then you can also take your hole punch and just go about that much in and snip. And do that with it folded over. Whoops. And it will leave your little divots like that. Now you have your corner pieces. Oops, I forgot to do the end, didn't I? I'm going to cut that little pointy off. I don't like them that pointy. Okay. So now we have, and we're not going to do it on that one because that's not a whole tag. Got ink all over my hands. So sorry. Now what I like to do is I like to put a hole right in the middle. And if you don't have a crocodile, or yeah, that's what it is, crocodile, you can always just take, one of the pokey tools and go down the middle. You don't even have to do this. I just like how it looks. And I'm going to try to get in the middle the best I can. See what that looks like. That's not the middle. I like the crocodile because then you can go the same all the way down once you set your hole with that little black thing. And just cut right on that line, half on each side of your ticket, or each ticket, like that, to give that center hole. I like that. Now I like to ink them really well because I think that is what sets it off, is the inking. And I'll fast forward through this part, but just to make sure and get in those little divots. And then when you're doing your center hole, if you'll fold it and do both sides, it will give it a nice inking, and then flip it over and do both sides. So I'll fast forward through all this, but just to show you how I ink them. Now I'm going to see which of my tickets fits this best. And another little something I'll tell you is when you're stamping your tickets, try to keep one folded back or lay a piece of paper. I like to lay a piece of paper over your ticket, the ticket that you're not stamping, because you don't want it to get duplicate stamping on it, which is very easy to do when you're doing it in a line like this. Like, see, that would have been onto this one, and you don't really want that. And so then I fold this one back to make sure and not get it, and just keep moving my paper like that. And don't be too particular with how well it's stamped. If it doesn't come out clean or clear, that's even better, because then it just gives it a more worn and vintage look. Those all stamped pretty good. I should have tried to leave them a little bit worn looking, but after I gave you that big spill, then I just stamped my heart away. Other thing I like to do on these little stars, take a marker or Sharpie or something and just fill them in with the color. You don't have to do this. Again, it's just because I'm crazy. See how some of these didn't stamp good? I like that. They look really worn. I like that. And there are our tickets. Now, one more thing I like to do, actually two more things. I don't like to leave the back. I don't know why, because it looks really cool just like it is. But I usually take my script stamp and just lightly go over the back. And I usually don't do that with black. I usually do it with the vintage photo, something like that. And I know it doesn't make much difference, but I like to do that. Just to finish it off. So there's our tickets. Now, one final thing for our tickets. I like to use the smaller hole on my crocodile for this one and just punch another hole somewhere. Because you know, whenever you pay, they stamp or punch a hole in your ticket so you can't use it again, I guess. And so I like to go ahead and punch a hole in each of the tickets. So there's our ticket. I think those are so fun. I hope you guys like this project as much as me. I really thought it was fun. I think the tickets are so much fun to make. These are some I've done earlier. And I think these little envelopes are going to look great in the journals. I think they're exactly what I was wanting. The tags are great. I love how this turned out. And I hope you do too. I hope you'll make some, whether it be the shaker cards or I just really like those. I like the sound they make too. I think that's why I like the thinner ones, because I get sound out of them. Tell me what you think of this project. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye.